to the KIMS podcast, brought to you by the Center for Asian and Middle Eastern Studies. Today, we're exploring a story that often gets left out of the textbooks. A story of how Islamic civilization served as the bridge between the ancient and the modern worlds. From Cordoba to Cambridge, Islam's role in preserving and transmitting knowledge. It's a journey that spans continents, centuries, and cultures, connecting the intellectual heart of Islamic Spain to the emerging universities of medieval Europe. The Golden Age. Let us rewind to the 8th and the 12th centuries, a time when much of Europe was in what historians often call the Dark Ages. While many classical texts from Greece and Rome had been lost or forgotten in Europe, something remarkable was happening further south and east. The Islamic world, stretching from Spain to Central Asia, was experiencing an intellectual flourishing. In places like Baghdad, Damascus, and especially Cordoba in Muslim Spain, scholars were gathering, translating, and preserving, and most importantly, building upon the great works of antiquity. Cordoba, the crown jewel of Al-Andalus, boasted over 70 libraries. While much of Europe had only monastic scriptoria, its main library is said to have held over 400,000 books, including texts on medicine, mathematics, astronomy, logic, and philosophy. We look at the role of translation and synthesis. This golden age didn't just preserve ancient knowledge, it reinterpreted and advanced it. Islamic scholars like Al-Kindi, Al-Farabi, Avicenna, and Averroes translated works of Aristotle, Galen, Plato, and Ptolemy into Arabic. But they didn't just stop there. They commented, critiqued, expanded, and integrated this material with Islamic thought. For example, Al-Khwarizmi's work on algebra, Al-Jabr in Arabic, not only gave us the term algebra, but also laid the foundation for modern mathematics. Ibn Sina's canon of medicine became a standard medical text across Europe for centuries. These Arabic texts were the intellectual lifeblood that would later pour into Europe through the translation movement, a remarkable period of cross-cultural exchange. Toledo, Palmero, and the flow of knowledge. By the 12th century, the city of Toledo in Spain had become a gateway between the Islamic and the Christian worlds. Their scholars, like Gerard of Cremona, translated over 80 major Arabic works into Latin, including astronomy, medicine, mathematics, and natural philosophy. Other centers like Palermo in Sicily and even parts of southern Italy also played host to translators, scribes, and scholars working together across cultural and religious lines. This body of translated knowledge would become the core curriculum of European universities, including Cambridge, Oxford, Paris, and Bologna. It is no exaggeration to say that without this transmission of knowledge, the European intellectual awakening we call the Renaissance would have looked very different, if it had happened at all. From Cordoba to Cambridge, a direct line of influence. By the time Cambridge was founded in 1209, Europe had already begun to absorb centuries of intellectual capital from the Islamic world. Philosophy students read Averroes' commentary on Aristotle, medical schools taught Ibn Sina's canon, mathematicians used Arabic numerals and algebraic methods drawn directly from the Muslim sources. Even the scientific method itself owes a great deal to Muslim polymaths like Al-Hasan ibn Haytham, whose rigorous approach to experimentation and observation influenced later thinkers such as Roger Bacon and eventually Francis Bacon. So, when we talk about the foundations of European science, philosophy, and medicine, we're really talking about a shared legacy, one shaped not just in Athens or Rome, but in Baghdad, Cordoba, and Cairo. So, why this history matters today? First, because it challenges the idea that civilizations progress in isolation. In reality, knowledge is cumulative and collaborative. The so-called European Enlightenment wasn't born in a vacuum. It was built on centuries of learning from the Islamic world. And secondly, this history reminds us that cross-cultural exchange, even across lines of language, religion, and empire, is not only possible but deeply enriching. At a time when tensions often dominate narratives between East and West, this shared intellectual heritage can serve as a source of respect, dialogue, and common ground. So, closing thoughts. From the illuminated manuscripts of Cordoba to the lecture halls of Cambridge, the journey of knowledge has never respected borders. It has always flowed where curiosity thrives and where minds are open. Islamic civilizations didn't just preserve the past, it propelled the world forward, leaving a legacy still felt in science, medicine, history, and education today. So next time we marvel at Europe's intellectual rebirth, let's also remember the scholars, translators, and thinkers of the Islamic world who carried the torch of knowledge through the night and passed it on when Europe was ready to rise. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the CAMES podcast. If you enjoyed today's reflections on how Islamic civilization served as the bridge between the ancient and the modern worlds, please like, subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Stay tuned to discover the rich and interconnected heritage of Asian and Middle Eastern civilizations. And as always, keep thinking, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep seeking wisdom. Until next time, from Kim's podcast, stay curious and stay safe.